Welcome to Raregivers 2023, a global festival of wellness. My name is Crystal Barrett O'Loughlin. I'm the founder and CEO of Angel Aid, and I'm so delighted that you've joined us today. We're broadcasting live from the Microsoft Technology Center in Irvine, California, to MTCs around the world. We have so much loving and energy and support coming into our rare disease community. If you haven't heard of Angel Aid before, we provide mental health and wellness services for patients, caregivers, and the professionals that support rare, chronic, and complex disease families. If you're not familiar with this community, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, who can share a little bit more insight.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Randy, a digital assistant. How may I help you?
What is rare disease?
A rare disease refers to a medical condition that affects a small number of people in the population. There are over 7,000 rare diseases, and they can vary widely in terms of symptoms, severity, and prognosis. 1. HTTPS www.angelaidcares.org/angelaid.
What is a raregiver?
A rare giver refers to individuals who dedicate their talents, time, and energy to support and honor individuals with medical conditions. This includes patients, caregivers, families, friends, medical staff, researchers, patient organizations, volunteers, and others who are involved in the care and well-being of those with medical conditions. 1. HTTPS www.raregivers.global/raregivers.
It's so important that we have opportunities to put technology into service for our community. Accessibility tools like the AI Genie from Fur Hat, that's my special nickname for my friend Randy, are going to take us into the future. They're going to help us reach more and more rare disease families. I'm so honored to represent our community. I'm so honored to represent our board and those who have dedicated their time and their energy and, as Randy said, their talent to our growing community. Thank you very much for your tireless acts of service to the board and all those that have donated, have volunteered, and have taken the time to support us. You would not believe what we've witnessed in the last 12 months. Since last year, since 2022, Angel Aid has grown our community from 500 families to over 15,000 families, receiving daily doses of encouragement, weekly support groups, quarterly retreats. We've grown our professional network from 3 to 4 psychologists to over 22 health and wellness practitioners, and we've generated about 21,000 hours of support for our community. That's 21,000 hours of relief that you have funded for our very needed and very important work. So thank you. We are a global community. Rare disease crosses borders. There are 7,000 rare diseases, actually more than AIDS and cancer combined. That's 350 million families that are living with diseases with no cures. And you've heard of these diseases: Tay-Sachs, Pompe, Fabry, mucopolysaccharidosis, and other diseases like cystic fibrosis and multiple sclerosis. Let's do what we call a little bit of empathy math. If you have 350 million diseases and 0 cures, in effect, you have a global mental health crisis on your hands. That's what Angel Aid is here to address, and that's what we invite you to support us through your donations. 350 million families, and on typical In each family, there's between 3 to 5 caregivers that are supporting those families, as well as the professionals supporting those families, teachers, doctors, nurses, genetics counselors, researchers, scientists, searching for those treatments and cures. But until we actually realize the dream of those, we need to be supporting the emotional well-being of these customers and these clients and these patients. 350 million, some say 2.8 billion. These are huge numbers, right? And as we look at multinational support organizations like the United Nations, we want to be in line. We want to be in congruence with those initiatives and how those organizations are supporting the rare disease community. So I would offer to you that we align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, good health and well-being. This has a very personal purpose for me. I just would like to share a few things about our family. The Barrett family started obviously with my parents, Richard and Phyllis. My father was captain of the football team at Western High School. My mother was head drill team leader. They fell fast in love in high school and wanted to have a big family. So they married at 19 and they let their pediatrician know, watch out for us. We've got a lot of kids heading your way. And in 8 years, they had 5 children. You can see my oldest brother, Richard, and David, Jared, and Randy, my other brothers. And then I am the youngest. What my mother didn't know, or my father, is that we carried a rare genetic disease in our family. Mucopolysaccharidosis, or Hunter syndrome, as it's known today, is an X-linked disease. It is a recessive gene and it affects boys. Your boys have a 50-50 chance of developing the disease. And even though the babies were born looking normal, they were missing milestones over time. And my brothers passed away at 12, 18, and 19 years old. You can imagine the whole family being wrapped up in the care of my brothers and the care for each other. And the stress of that caregiving actually broke my parents apart. So I'm sad to say that they did divorce in 1975, but I promise you, if you stick to the end of this broadcast, I'll give you a love story like you've never heard before. There was so much reflection after they passed in the 80s. I think this is very typical of any of us that have gone through some sort of very unexpected, life-changing event. Why do these difficult things happen in the world and to families? And what I would offer to you is that we are born. We all live out our lives, and we will eventually pass on. And the illusion in life is a life without suffering. The joy and the darkness, the hope and the pain, the relief and the grief. These are the flip sides of life, and these are the feelings that I've contemplated for a lifetime. The best I can tell you is the purpose of suffering is to sow the seeds of empathy. Empathy is when you're reaching out with your heart and connecting at a heart level with another human being. And haven't we all experienced this through the pandemic? Haven't we all experienced isolation, disruptions in home and work life, the uncertainty of medical conditions? This is what rare families live like every day. And so I think there's a really amazing opportunity for us to be empathetic to the rare disease community, to pour out our hearts in support of these very difficult journeys that these families are running on. Angel Aid is a global nonprofit network. We provide personal connection and emotional support to patients, to parents and professionals in all rare, chronic, and complex disease communities, so that these individuals feel less isolated, less overwhelmed, even as they're working so hard to care for their loved ones. Our goal is to support 3.5 million Raregivers by 2026. Seems like a huge number, but really with technology, it's so achievable, and it doesn't even meet the global need for support for 350 million families. So if we can just support 1%, here's what I know will happen. We will start a movement. We will inspire other organizations. We will inspire our industry partners. We will inspire our communities to support these rare disease families in ways they've never really even thought of. So I'd like to say thank you, first of all, to those entities that have been supportive of the work that we do. I'd like to say thank you to Horizon and Ionis and Sanofi and EMD Serono and PTC Therapeutics and Ultragenyx and Regenix Bio. You are the industry leaders. You've recognized the importance of mental health and wellness on the whole family experience, even as you're working so hard to bring treatments and cures to these families. So thank you. And I'd like to say thank you to our patient support organizations, the Ehlers-Danlos Society, the Epilepsy Foundation of Australia, the SCN2A organization in Australia, Remember the Girls, Indo-US Rare, the Assistance Fund, Prader-Willi Syndrome Foundation, and NORD, the National Organization of Rare Diseases, an entity that's been in existence for 40 years and has endorsed our support services. So thank you to our corporate sponsors, because you fund so much of our programmatic work and the growth of our team. And thank you so much to our volunteers and to our donors. And we hope that we inspire you to join our crew of donors or to continue your investment in our support services. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what your dollars, what your volunteer efforts have done for Angel Aid. Over the next month, we have been offering what we call a Festival of Wellness. So every day we've had support opportunities for meditations, for fitness experiences, ways for people to get to know our caregivers. We've been featuring caregivers from around the world. We've been recording videos and putting them on our YouTube channel so that you can watch them at any point, to bring authors that are working within the rare disease community or working in the chronic stress field. We've been featuring various different leaders in our Wellness Wednesdays, from the military, from the African American community, sickle cell community, doctors and nurses that have strategies for medical trauma and how to overcome those traumas, strategies for how to overcome needle fear and needle phobia. So part of what we're doing with Raregivers is inviting you to donate and support our community, but also we're giving back to you. We want to share with you our tools, our tricks and tips for chronic stress relief, and we want to share with you the expertise of our health and wellness community. So that's what Raregivers is all about. And you can go to the site, you can donate at angelaidcares.org/give. You can also sign up for any of those wellness experiences that I just mentioned to you. If you're a Microsoft employee, I just want to point out to you that your donations may be matched, likely will be matched during the month of October if you donate through the Benevity site. So please use the QR codes that we've provided here, or go to aka.ms/angelaid. And for everyone else outside of the Microsoft community, you can go to angelaidcares.org/give. Okay, so what I want to know when I'm donating, because I support our organization and others as well, is what are my dollars going towards? So I can tell you this: every donation makes a difference. Every donation, any amount makes a difference. We pool all donations together into these packages of services, okay? If you can afford or have the inspiration to meet these donation levels, that would be amazing. And certainly with the match, either at Microsoft or other employers, that can be achievable. It can also be achievable through recurring donations. So sometimes smaller amounts on a monthly basis can make a huge difference in our support services as well. So here's the levels. For the feather donation, the $100 level, we're able to fund a live support call between community and our mental health practitioner network. For the $200 Arrow level, we're able to bring individuals into our support groups. We host support groups every week, multiple times a week, and we're starting to grow our support services into multilingual support groups as well. We'll be launching our first Spanish-speaking support group this month. At the wings level, the $500 level, we have wellness kits and webinars that actually work with needle fear and needle phobia. So when you're living a medicalized life, 10 to 15% of the community has developed an aversion to needles. Even if you're not receiving a treatment or a diagnostic, you still need to get blood draws. And those can be really traumatic, especially for small children and teens and tweens. So we've developed a needle pokes program, and we ship wellness kits into the home with actually workbooks and the like. So the $500 level helps us fund that program. At the $1,000 level, the Halo level, we're able to send an individual to one of our wellness retreats. Now, sometimes those are in person and sometimes those are virtual. It all depends on where someone's joining from and how much time they have. I'll give you some examples of both kinds of retreats coming up here in a minute. Our Guardian level, the $2,000 level, that funds a Raregiver for a whole year of support services. So they can join our retreat, but they can also join all of our wellness weekly and monthly groups. All of these are offered for free to our community. Free because you are there to donate and you are there to support their services. Our sustainers, our archangels at the $5,000 level, these are the change makers. These individuals pool together their funds and are able to support a whole retreat experience. And I'm going to talk to you about one of the retreats that we funded through one of our archangels in Mexico City. So those are the donation levels. I just wanted you to be aware of what those are and also how we operate with our community, because what we're all about is witnessing. We're about deep, deep listening. We can't fix all these situations. That's up to the researchers and the scientists and the pharmaceutical companies and the academia. That is difficult work that's going to take a long period of time. What we can do today is we can witness. We can witness each other, we can listen, and we can provide forums and opportunities for individuals to learn how to do deep listening. Okay, so we've developed tools. One of the tools that we developed is the Raregivers Emotional Journey Map. Now, this may look super game-like, and that's intentional, but behind it, I can tell you there's deep science and research. The Raregivers Emotional Journey Map was developed through a meta-study. We actually studied all of the published research on the emotional impact on caregivers in the rare disease community. And what we realized is, regardless of the disease, there are very predictable stages that families are going to either go through or feel that they're going through. So this isn't necessarily linear. Doesn't mean you're going to go from stage 1 to stage 6. You could be adjusting to a diagnosis, end up in the ER and worried about an end of life experience. What this tool does is it allows people to orient. So we can bring in groups of people into a conversation or into a wellness experience, and we can use the journey map to orient where they are and how they're feeling, regardless, again, of the disease that they're living with or they're experiencing or they're caregiving for. What we realized when we started doing focus groups is that actually there's other ecosystems of support that are needed. The patient community. We work with a lot of young adult patients that are living longer than ever and graduating out of childhood and into young adulthood and really deeply emotionally affected by the lived experience, their medicalized life that they are living. We also realize that the professional community that's supporting these families are also deeply impacted. They're on these journeys as well. And so we've developed tools that can be utilized by all sorts of different communities. Very grateful to the sponsors and for your donations for helping us bring these tools to light. So as you look at the donation guide that we talked about before, and I'll be pulling up these QR codes so that they're easy for you to access during the broadcast. I wanted to just orient you with where some of these donations and the outcome that can come from your deep and open heart. So last year, we had a desire to support the Spanish-speaking rare disease community. We received multiple donations, and we were able to pool the funds and actually host our first pilot wellness retreat in Mexico City. We actually had volunteers from Microsoft and other organizations translate our Raregivers emotional journey map into Spanish and all of our materials into Spanish. We packaged up a bunch of wellness kits and all those guidebooks and everything in Spanish, and we shipped them down to Mexico in a partnership collaboration with Elizabeth Sacido from the FDDN organization. And Elizabeth was able to host a retreat. We called it a retreat in a box. We actually shipped that to Elizabeth, and she was able to host the retreat for those in need in her community. So that's the effect that your donations can have. We would not have the ability to do those kinds of support services if it wasn't for you. So here's another example. Taking a look at the arrow level and the support groups, and also the desire to have a Raregivers retreat in Australia. We pooled together all of those dollars, and we were able to partner with the SCN2A organization and the Epilepsy Foundation of Australia, Sydney General Hospital, and University of New South Wales. Now, we didn't need to do translation services, although Queen's English is a little different than American English, but we were able to work with Sydney General Hospital and University of New South Wales to take our methodology, the Sustainable Raregiver, through ethics review. So now we know that an independent third party has reviewed our methodology and has approved it to have therapeutic benefit for the community, and in fact, measurable benefit. So I can't wait for the report to be published, because it will be published in a peer-reviewed publication, and then we'll be able to point to that all over the world. So thank you. It was your donations. It was a large Archangel donation times 5, and then a few others that came in and funded that really important work. It was not a corporate donation. It was individual donations that funded that work, all pooled together. And now we have a monthly support group for Australia Raregivers. So those are examples of how we've been able to pool those funds. And this is also so exciting. And it is an example of a corporate sponsorship. Thank you to Horizon Therapeutics for entrusting us to host our very first men's retreat. So we've been wanting to support men for quite a while. Mothers are the primary caregiver 82% of the time. We felt like that is a good way to launch our Angel Aid support services. But always there's been a question, what about the men? And here's what we realized. Men have feelings, of course. So let's bring everybody together, and we flew in men from around the world in order to be seen, to be witnessed, to be in community with each other, to have a few moments where they could experience something that they might never have experienced before, like a wellness bath, a sound bath, to actually have space to sit down and talk, in sometimes in tears, and in other times in anger, and in other times in just joyful release and relief. Being heard is so important, and it's so not our nature to slow down and just listen deeply to each other. So being heard and training individuals how to listen to each other. So we use the medicine stick and pass that around, right? And everybody gets their opportunity to share on a given prompt. To sit during meals and really just support each other as we're sharing. That's the unique experience when a Raregivers Wellness Retreat happens. Coming together in relaxation, getting some good sleep, getting some really wonderful food, doing service projects like this workshop cleanup project at Barrett Family Ranch with my father was very happy about. And also being in fitness with each other. So just getting out in nature and just living under the big blue sky. So these supports are what make the bonding happen, and they're what make that deep breath happen. I'd like for you to hear from the men themselves.
What surprised me throughout this entire process is how vulnerable men can be when given the opportunity to do so. I feel once in a lifetime opportunity to be put in this environment. It's amazing to hear the conversations and just the truth that just comes out. This is an experience that I will cherish for the rest of my life.
What surprised me the most about being here is how almost familiar everybody feels almost immediately. If you are a father, a husband, or somebody who is caregiving for somebody with a rare disease, and you don't have this, you need to find your way here. This Raregivers retreat is like a breath of life. This is a place where you can be seen, where you can be heard.
For us to get together like this is really special. My wife had attended a similar event like this, but for females, and she had raved about it. It's because you're a man doesn't mean you don't have emotions.
It's been a crazy few days here, actually being around other men who are just as vulnerable as you. I mean, those sessions, they go so deep, I'm emotionally exhausted. You're watching something that you can't fix, and men are fixers, right? So there's a lot of anger that goes along with that. You know, there was a lot of empathy in that room when they were listening to me.
I'm just in a funk these days, and I was hoping that coping mechanisms they use and how they have addressed the problems that they face, and see if I could gather any wisdom from them, something to take home with me. It's good to know that you're not that different from somebody else. There have been some emotional moments, and that's good because that means that people are actually present and, you know, talking about the real stuff. I was hesitant about coming here, but, you know, I think it's been a good experience.
We share more than what we realise by being impacted by rare conditions. It feels a bond for me with the guys in the retreats. I think this has been a great opportunity for men to be taken care of, to pause, to connect with other men going through similar experiences.
I was just so blown away by the vulnerability, the candor, the very different stories, but all leading to the same through line of rare dads. It can be a very lonely task when you're supposed to be the stoic one and you don't understand whether or not, you know, this is something that can be transformative. And, you know, I'm here to tell you that it is. You're worthwhile, and we want to hear you.
Do your donations make a difference? Yes, they do. They certainly make a difference to the men in that experience, and they are all representing different rare disease communities and are now back into their communities and sharing that perspective and those training and those experiences with their communities as well. So this is about relief. It's about finding peace in things that you can't control. And as we look at our lives, as we look at these experiences that rare disease families live, it's less about a moment in time and recovering from that. This is not a post-traumatic stress scenario where you're now in active recovery. This is a chronic traumatic stress experience that can go on for days, weeks, years, or decades. So what we've done over the years is we've been bringing in the experts. How can we address a huge global community and also address a very, very deeply heartfelt need? Dr. Alyssa Eppel is part of our Mental Health Advisory Council. She is the preeminent expert in health and wellness, in chronic stress, and I had an opportunity to interview Alyssa, and I'd like to share her perspective with you. I think it will really resonate. So I'm here with Alyssa Eppel, the preeminent stress expert from UCSF. My name's Crystal O'Loughlin from Angel Aid, and we're talking about stress, everyday stress, the stress that's all around us. Alyssa, can you elaborate, please, and help us find ways to reduce our stress?
Mm-hmm. I like to think of these kind of levels of stress that we have. So we all have the daily drama of things that happen in our personal life, and we will always have that. And nowadays we have this level of social and global stress that we never had before because we're hyper-connected. So we see tragedies that happen anywhere in the world at any time, and they're more frequent. So we are in an era of what many have called the meta crisis. We have an unstable climate, so we have a lot of climate tragedies, climate disasters that are not just affecting the people that they are not. It's not just affecting people who are exposed to the disaster, but all of us see it and we realize how connected we are, and that this is our future, that we're going to have more climate events. And then there are other types of social stressors that we're exposed to, the social and political divisions, the unstable politics and war. So this can be overwhelming. And the more we watch media, actually the more PTSD and anxiety symptoms that we have, and even the more risk for heart disease. So the media is the medium of how it gets under our skin, and titrating that, protecting ourselves, acknowledging that there's too much out there that's filtered and intensified through the media. And we just can't be free game to be exposed to that. We need to protect our families, protect our workplace. So limiting our screen consumption is a way of managing our stress exposure. And the other way to manage it is to work together on the issues that you care about most. So climate distress is so common, particularly in our children these days, in young adults. And we can't get rid of it because it's a realistic stressor. We are needing to create massive changes. So the way to cope with it is action. Action is the sponge for anxiety. So local action is global action. Whatever we can do in our schools and at home and in our workplaces matters and adds up.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, Alyssa just released a book. It's called The Stress Prescription, right here. So you heard it first from Alyssa Eppel. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Alyssa.
Crystal.
Really appreciate it.
Me too.
Such deep wisdom. Action is the sponge for anxiety, right? So that's what we're about tonight. We're about taking action for our community of caregivers. And these 7 steps actually were worked into a program that we did with BioMarin Pharmaceuticals. And I'm happy to say that it's made a huge difference in the professional community within the rare disease space as well. So as individuals, as caregivers, as professionals, we all have these multiple different roles. Wanted to offer to you some wisdom that you can really relate to, and also make this offer that any donation, any amount, we will send you a link to a 15-minute overview of the 7 steps, the 7 days to more joy and ease in Dr. Alyssa Eppel's The Stress Prescription. So any donation amount, whether it's through our angelaidcares.org/give or through Benevity for the matched link for Microsoft employees, any donation amount, we will be sending you a link to that Insight Timer overview. So thank you so much for considering your donations. Thank you for considering supporting our community. We hope that you become part of our Raregivers global movement. And I'd like to invite you also to share about what we do, share about Angel Aid, share about our Raregivers offerings, share about our support groups if you're interested in joining our subscription list, or even just forwarding some of our social media posts. They're very inspiring, and if you need a little inspiration in your own day-to-day life, please do follow us. I promised you at the beginning of this broadcast a love story. So that couple, Richard and Phyllis, my parents, they did meet and marry in 1963, and the stress of losing 3 sons, my 3 older brothers, broke their marriage apart. It was very, very difficult time. They each remarried a second time, divorced again. They each remarried a third time, very long, 20-year-plus marriages, and they widowed within a year of each other, the same year that our daughter Chloe was born, which is another miracle in the Barrett family. As my mother is a carrier of MPS disease, so am I, and so is our daughter Chloe. So she is the miracle, and that brought them back together. So if you can imagine that in April of 2023, 60 years after the first time they were married, we were able as a family to find the love and the joy and the healing energy and witness their marriage yet again. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about our family, about what drives Angel Aid and what drives me as the leader. I hope that you'll take the time to continue to get to know us. I really do very much appreciate your time and your support and your energy. And we will see you in all of our Give events throughout the month. You can find them on our website or on our YouTube channel at Angel Aid Cares. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, week, month, and year. And we will see you again next year.